Hi everyone. Um, just a quick announcement for week number 2. These following students, your papers, your completed work for week number 2 will be picked up on Saturday 16. These are some of the students that are within the zone 11 and above. Okay. For the students that within zone 1 to 10, your completed papers or your completed work for week number 2 will be picked up on Friday, uh, based or according to the respective drop zone. But for my homeroom students, Venus, Belta, Semele, Sami, Marijan, Rose, and Ruthana, your papers will be picked up on Saturday 16 between 2 to 4 p.m. And the new papers, new assignment work for week number 3 will be given to you or will be dropped at the respective zones. Okay, so some of us will be picked up your papers on Saturdays, and also your new assignment will be given to you on Saturdays. So take note of that. Secondly, I would like to thank those students who sent me an email, called me, or inbox me via Facebook. Tonight I'm going to explain how you should do question number 1 for your assessment number 1 for week number 2. For assignment number 1, the first question is for you to find the individual atoms in those given molecules. For instance, let's say question number 1, let's say if for instance the water molecules, you have H, 2 and O, and if there is number 2 in front, that is the coefficient. That coefficient is a multiplier. Okay, so to find the individual atoms, you need to identify the individual atoms that are present in this molecule. So we have a hydrogen and oxygen. Now to find the total number of atoms in this molecule, you would multiply 2 times by 2. So 2 times by 2 gives you 4 hydrogen atoms. Okay. Now to find oxygen, 2 multiplied by 1 oxygen gives you 2. 2 multiplied by 1 oxygen gives you 2 atoms of oxygen. What about the molecules that does not have any coefficient in front? Of course, there is one probably. For instance, if I give you a glucose molecule, you have a carbon 6, hydrogen 12, and oxygen 6. Now, if you look at this glucose molecule, there is no number in front, although there is a hidden one here, but there is no number in front. That means to find the individual atoms, you know that carbon is 6, hydrogen is 12, and then oxygen is 6. Now, what about if any molecule that has a parenthesis and a coefficient? Now, for instance, if I give you, let's say, ammonium sulfate, okay? If I give you ammonium sulfate, and if you see numbers in front, that's number 2. Now, how are you going to multiply this number to the other numbers and other atoms that are present? Now, first of all, you need to write down or list the individual atoms that are present here. So we have nitrogen, we have hydrogen, we have sulfur, and we have oxygen. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 atoms are present in this molecule. Now since we have 2 in front, that is a coefficient. It multiplies to everything in this molecule. So we have to find the total number of nitrogen. You would multiply 2 by 2 outside of the parentheses, and then you multiply inside. So we have 2 times by 2 times by 1 nitrogen gives you 4 atoms of nitrogen. How about hydrogen? To find the total number of hydrogen, 2 multiplied by 2 outside of the parentheses, and then you multiply inside the parentheses. So we have 2 multiplied by 2, which is 4, times by 4 hydrogen present gives you 16 atoms of hydrogen. To find the number of sulfur, how would you find the number of sulfur? Now look at this number here, is multiply everything, right? So sulfur is 1, okay? That is the symbol for sulfur. So 2 multiplied by 1 sulfur, so 2 multiplied by 1 sulfur gives you 2 atoms of sulfur. Okay, now to find the total number of oxygen, we have 4 atoms of oxygen there. Okay, and since we have 2 in front, okay, so 2 multiplied by 4 gives 8. Okay, so 2 multiplied by 4 atoms of oxygen gives you 8 atoms of oxygen. Okay, that is how you multiply the coefficient to the other elements and atoms present in a molecule, particularly if there is a parenthesis involved. Okay. The second thing that I would like to explain to you tonight is the balancing of chemical equation. Now to balance a chemical equation, you need to look at the overall equation. Now I will give you maybe 1 or 2. Okay, let's say I'll give you just one or 2. Okay, so let's say we have metal is a solid, plus let's say hydrochloric acid, liquid or aqueous, produce what? Produce magnesium. Okay, magnesium chloride plus hydrogen gas. Okay, we have solid and then we have hydrogen gas. Now, as I have said, let's say this metal, okay, I'll rewrite again. This metal could be, let's say magnesium. It's a magnesium. I rewrite the equation again. Let's say magnesium plus, let's say, hydrochloric acid produce magnesium chloride, produce hydrogen gas. Okay, so when you try to balance the chemical equation, make sure you try to identify the atoms on the left and the right side of the equation. Okay, so how about you write down, let's say, magnesium. How many magnesium on the left? So when you look at this is only 1 magnesium. And what about hydrogen? Hydrogen is only 1 hydrogen there. Chlorine, we have 1 chlorine. on the right side of the equation, which is the products, magnesium, you have how many magnesium there? We have one magnesium. What about let's say hydrogen? Hydrogen, you have two hydrogen. And what about chlorine? You look at this chlorine here, there's two chlorine. Okay, so look at the general atoms on the left side and the right side. You have all one here, one, two, two on there. It's not balanced. Okay, because what we are trying to do is left side of the reactants, all the atoms here on the left side should be equal to all the atoms on the right. Okay, so chemical reaction is always associated with the conservation of energy. Okay, the energy cannot be created nor destroyed, so everything should be the same. Okay, now to balance the chemical equation, you need to add coefficient. Okay, coefficient is any number that you add in front, okay, or a moles. Okay, so the hint is chlorine here is 2 and the chlorine here is 1. We need to multiply a number in front so that the hydrogen and the chlorine becomes 2. Okay, so choose any number. You need to choose a number. Okay, so I would choose 2 over here, because 2 times by 1 hydrogen, cross out the first one, write on 2. So hydrogen now becomes 2. What about chlorine? 2 multiplied by 1 chlorine gives you 2 chlorine. So look at the atoms now. Magnesium 1, magnesium 1. Hydrogen 2, hydrogen 2. Chlorine 2, chlorine 2. That's perfect. So what you need to do is look at these numbers in front. Now because 1 multiplied by 1 magnesium gives you 1. And here we have 2 and here we have 1, because 1 multiplied by the others will still be the same, and do the same for the last one. That's how you balance the chemical equation. That's number 1. Number 2, how about if, let's say, you have water molecules H2O dissociate or break down into hydrogen and oxygen molecule. Now if you want to balance the chemical equation, you need to add numbers in front of this molecule. As I've said, you need to differentiate left and the right. Write down, as a matter of practice, write down what you know. So we have hydrogen 2 over here, oxygen 1. On your right we have hydrogen 2, oxygen 2. It's not balanced. So what you need to do now is to look at the overall equation on your left and on your right, and add coefficients to any other molecule that would make left and the right just the same. So the key point here is the oxygen. We have 2 oxygen here, we have 1 here. So if you multiply by 2, it will be 2 oxygen here. So what you need to do is you put 2 in front of a water molecule. So you 2 multiply by 2. Okay, so 4 hydrogen. Now 2 multiplied by 1 oxygen gives you 2 oxygen. Right. On your right we have 2 hydrogen, and you know that to make 4 hydrogen you multiply or add 2 in front of this hydrogen molecule. So 2 times by 2 hydrogen gives you 4 hydrogen. Okay, so we have on the left we have 4 hydrogen, on the right 4 hydrogen. On your left 2 oxygen, on your right 2 oxygen. That's perfect. So what you need to do in the other molecule is, okay, we have 2 here, we have 2 here, and then we add 1. Okay, we add 1 because 1 times by 2 gives you 2. Perfect. Okay, so I hope that practice will help you to understand the writing, the balancing of chemical equation, and also adding up the coefficients. Thank you and wishing you good luck.